Are you planning a trip to Banff, Alberta, Canada? This is the episode for you. Welcome to Chris Strub Unmuted. I'm Chris Strub. Today we're talking about the 7 things to add to your itinerary when you head up to Banff. I went from petrified to coolest experience I've ever had to, oh my God, I might need to go to the hospital. This is Chris Strub Unmuted, a show designed for open dialogue, honest reflection, and uncensored truths about the lives that we lead. Today, we're talking through the 7 things that you should add to your itinerary when you head to Banff, Alberta, Canada. And I was blessed to head up to Banff myself last month to go run the Banff Half Marathon. Had an amazing time. And let's start the list right there. Number 1 on your list, go run the Banff Half Marathon. Great race. It was a lot of fun. It was my first race outside of the United States. If you're new here, I've run a half marathon now in all 50 U.S. states. And so the next natural step for me, hopefully, is starting the international journey. And it started up in Canada in June 2026 with the Banff Half Marathon. I actually placed second in my age group. The medium old dudes that's the technical name for it. Here you go. You can check out. I don't know what just happened to the camera there, but this is the podium medal. It looks exactly the same as the regular medal. So I've got 2 of these now, but this one says podium. It was a lot of fun to go up there and run this race. Of course, the landscape there that you're running through is absolutely stunning. And through the rest of this episode, I'm going to tell you more about some of the other experiences that we got to have up in Banff during this trip. Some of the highlights for sure. But the race itself certainly was worth the trip and worth the adventure. Packet pickup was pretty simple. It's outside. There's not a huge expo or anything crazy like that, but there are definitely some great local vendors there. The gear there that you can buy. You can see the brand here on the shirt that I'm wearing. So this is actually the race shirt that is provided. But there's plenty of other cool things that you can grab there at the expo. The one thing that they didn't have, which I thought was really weird, and I mentioned this to the staff there, so maybe note for the Banff Half Marathon team for 2027, is they didn't have a beanie, or as you would call it in Canada, a toque. I think they call it a toque. You know what I'm talking about, like a beanie, a warm hat to put on. When you're in Canada, feels like a warm hat would be the perfect thing. It's one of my favorite souvenirs to bring home. Now, I can hear my mom saying, Chris, you already have 30 damn beanies in the closet. Why do you need one more? Because how often am I going to be in Banff, right? So would totally be wearing the beanie right now if I had one. Unfortunately, I don't. But the race itself was cool. You are running at elevation, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, at least for me. Maybe it'll be worse for you, depending on where exactly you're traveling from. Of course, there is a time change as well. You're several hours ahead. I think it's 3 hours time change when you fly into Calgary up there. So your body does have to adjust a little bit, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be going in. Maybe it's because I was there for a couple days before the race to adjust. Maybe I'm just faster than I think I am. I don't know. I'm sure it hit some people worse than others. I was definitely more gassed than usual at the end of the race. So maybe my body was readjusting after the race ended. I mean, I spent like nearly 10 minutes, like completely out of breath after the race ended. Okay. So it probably did hit me, but it didn't. I was able to kind of power through it. You might find that running at altitude in Banff affects you more than it did me. But fun race overall. You guys know I'm a big half marathon guy. So yeah, add it to your list. I don't know that it would crack my top 15 races of all time, but somewhere in that, 16 to 20 range probably makes sense, of the, 80 half marathons that I've done. So it's a very, very good race. Not like an, oh my God, drop everything and go do this immediately. But, like I talked about in another episode this season with Maui and Anchorage, the real biggest value for me of running a race like that is being in the place where you are. So if number one on your 7 things to do in Banff is run the half marathon, and you're not going to run the half marathon, that's fine. The rest of this list will cover stuff that is not half marathon related. And immediately, the best thing that we did on our trip to Banff was, from my standpoint, Mistaya Canyon. And there are tons of videos out there. I went up there with my friend Tony, who is both my Orange Theory fitness coach and the agent that helped me find my beautiful house here in Malden, here in Greenville, South Carolina. If you're looking to buy a home in Greenville, I cannot recommend Tony Leopard highly enough. She is fantastic. She's a bulldog for you. She'll fight for you. So loved getting to share this experience with my friend Tony Leopard up in Banff. It was great. It was awesome. And the day before the race, we did one of the many touristy things you can do in Banff, which was go ride the Icefields Parkway. Okay, so we had a rental car. We had a Jeep, which was really cool. It was nice to have a Jeep. So if you can get a big 4-wheel, well, every car has 4 wheels. Go get a big heavy-duty car like that to take yourself up and down the Icefields Parkway. Well worth it. There was a huge climb along the Icefields Parkway where we turned around. So having a big vehicle like that was valuable in the end. So along the Icefields Parkway, which is within the Banff National Park, but outside of the town of Banff, if you will, the Icefields Parkway has a bunch of different stops that you can make. And this was a great opportunity to use ChatGPT to converse in the Airbnb, figure out exactly what stops we had time to get to, right? Mistaya Canyon was one of the top stops that ChatGPT recommended. And from my perspective, I think it was my favorite thing I saw the whole time we were in Banff. I think Tony probably has a different perspective. The Mistaya Canyon was amazing, but there were so many amazing things that we saw along the way that it'd be very easy to pick out another spot, some of which we'll talk about here later in the list, right? Let's have Jeff put up the video of Mistaya Canyon here in front of me. And I suspect there'll be a lot of photos and videos shown here throughout this episode. I decided to do the episode and then we'll add in the videos and photos later instead of me trying to do a live slideshow descriptor thing. But oh my God, the photos that you're seeing in this episode, especially from Mistaya Canyon, do not do it justice. It is like a whole nother universe up there. It is so pristine and clear. And we got very lucky with the weather, that it was a little foggy on Friday when we were there I think we were there for 5 days, and Friday was a little foggy. It was still amazing. And then Saturday when we did the Icefields Parkway drive, the weather was perfect all the way up and down, right? And the weather on race day on Sunday was also perfect all the way up and down. So what I loved about Mistaya Canyon was that forced sense of perspective that you see here in the photos. You just, again, you feel like you're on another planet. The serenity being up there. I could have stood in that canyon all day and been perfectly fine. And Tony and I are both kind of type A with we want to see and do everything. Tony, while she's traveling, maybe even more so type A than me, she'd probably admit. But so we didn't stay there too long, but we were there just long enough to really breathe in the experience of having said that we saw it. And if you're going to go to Banff, the number one thing for me was Mistaya Canyon or Mistaya Canyon. Sorry. Had to look up how to pronounce it. Because you don't want to get these things wrong. But yeah, dude, the whole Icefields Parkway Drive, totally worth it. It was really great. But for me, Mistaya Canyon was top of my personal list. Okay, Banff is also really well known. Number 3 on the list for me. Let's talk about some of the food. You know, when you're out there for 5 days, of course you're going to want to explore some of the great restaurants and eateries that are up there. I would honestly say that I don't know that any of the places we went to eat were like 10 out of 10 amazing. And I know that sounds weird to say. I think pretty much all of them were excellent, but not like, nothing was like top 5 places I've ever eaten kind of good. So, you know, when you're making a list of like things to do in Banff, my recommendation would be beyond this video, go like Google best restaurants in Banff, pick out a couple that you like. I'm going to put on the list, eat at the Meatball. And so that was our night before the race meal. You know, I was responsible for picking where we ate on Saturday night. I had the beet basil goat cheese ravioli. So it was a bunch of purple raviolis. Tony had traditional spaghetti and meatballs, another excellent choice. Usually I'm a lasagna guy. Lasagna didn't feel like the move in Banff. The ravioli was great. It was really, really good. The service there was great. They've got indoor and outdoor seating. So if you're walking along that main street there, I think it's just called Main Street in Banff. Yeah, you can't go wrong with the Meatball, especially if you're going to go run the next morning. The staff there was terrific. The service was good. Tony had a couple glasses of wine. I did not have a glass of wine the night before the race. Had plenty of wine on the other nights, of course. But yeah. My best restaurant recommendation from our time in Banff was probably the Meatball, but I also think there were a couple of places that maybe didn't have their best day, and or a couple of places that we might have missed out on that if we went back, or if I went back, I would go somewhere else, right? So, find, again, or maybe talk to some of the locals there, talk to the folks at the race, and see what's the one place that's not on these touristy lists that you might want to check out. The Meatball was great. The name of the restaurant is the Meatball. I didn't steal one of Tony's meatballs from her plate, but the Meatball was really, really good. And I don't know. Like, it is a foodie town. We'll talk more food in a minute, but nothing really like 100% blew me away food wise in Banff. One thing that did really impress me, number 4 on the list, I'm going to say go get a drink at Park Distillery, which is, let me make sure because they're all like, it's one mostly big main street there where all of these restaurants are. It's Banff Avenue. So not Main Street, it's Banff Avenue. Park Distillery Restaurant and Bar, 219 Banff Avenue. Came as a recommendation from a friend. So thank you, Houston and Natasha, for the recommendation. We had this on our last night there, which was preceded by another activity that I'm going to talk about next up on the list, number 5. So I'll get to that in a moment. But grabbing a drink at Park Distillery was definitely the right move. Super cool vibes. There is an upstairs like rail up there and a little bit of outdoor seating. It's mostly inside just because of the way the nature that the avenue is built. Like you can have like a little overhang for outdoor seating. Was the same thing at Banff Brewing Company. Was that the name of it? Banff Brewing. Yeah, Banff Ave Brewing Company was also really good. So, yeah, maybe that's a tie for 4th on the list here. Banff Ave Brewing was what we ate right after the race when we were both absolutely starving. And the food there was very good too. And the beers there were very good also. So maybe we'll call this one a tie. Park Distillery and Banff Ave Brewing Company, both very much worth a stop. The ambiance, 11 out of 10. I mean, just phenomenal. Can't believe I'm here. Feel like you're in another universe. Like, just everything looks like a painting. It's stunningly gorgeous up there, and you won't go wrong eating at either one of those places. We did not eat a full meal at Park Distillery, and I feel like that might have been a slight miss. Like, we got appetizers there, and they were pretty good, but it looked like they had some really great meat on the menu there. So maybe at Park Distillery, my recommendation would be plan on eating a full meal there. And go get yourself, let me look at the menu, because there was definitely stuff there that, I saw other people eating and I was like, oh, that looks incredible. So yeah, it's parkdistillery.com is their website. And then, yeah, the wood fire grill, like the cowboy ribeye. Yeah, the prime rib. Uh-huh. I'm still hungry. I recorded another episode of this season earlier today, right before lunch. Maybe I should have had even more lunch. The ribeye in particular looked incredible. So plan to have dinner at Park Distillery, get yourself the ribeye, and get yourself, the drink that I had was called the Observation Peak. And I had the menu up here and I clicked away from it. The Observation Peak is it's Park Banff whiskey, rum, Amaro Montenegro, cherry liqueur, orange bitters, and smoking cedar. So it was one of those, take the lid off and it's smoking kind of thing. So you're there for the experience. You're doing it for the gram. But the drink itself was also really, really good. And it hits nicely. Okay. Number five on the list. Okay. Banff Trail Riders. So I'm sure if you're Googling planning your trip and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, what are some of the fun activities you want to do while you're up in Banff, especially if you're not going to run the half marathon. Tony and I did go do the Banff Trail Riders experience. We did, if you're looking at their website, which is horseback.com, we did the wagon ride with barbecue cookout. So I think it's was it 3 hours? Yeah, it's 3 hours. It actually took us a little longer than 3 hours because we had a couple of riders who had some issues with their horses. And so the whole group gets delayed if that's the concern. And so, look, I'm going to recommend go do the horseback riding. Maybe don't do the wagon ride with barbecue cookout. Trust me, it looks awesome. The food itself at the cookout was actually really, really good. But a couple things on the cookout piece. One, if you're not an experienced horseback rider, and if you have troublesome hips sometimes like I do, I cannot find words to describe how bad my hips hurt at the conclusion of this adventure. I was nearly in tears by the time we were done with the horseback riding. Now, I'm not an experienced horseback rider. It wasn't my first time on a horse, but it's one of my first times. And it hurt like hell. Guys, it really, it hurt so bad that I thought I might need to go get x-rays. It hurt so bad that I thought I might be flying home with something like a dislocated hip. So it is a long experience. And if someone in your group gets delayed or if there's issues with one of the horses, like even my horse had a little bit of an issue that he kept reaching for grass, and the guy at the end of the line that you're trotting in has to come out and put an extra, muzzle on the horse. And that adds 5-10 minutes. And so that time adds up. The other issue that I had with the barbecue cookout was I'm a slow eater. And, when you're out there, especially in Banff, the land that time forgot, in the middle of the summer, you really want to just take your time and enjoy it. And, long story short, I was one of the last ones to get my food. It's kind of served buffet style ish. And you have to kind of hustle back over to get back on your horse. And I had to fight to keep my plate. They actually took my plate away from me, which I thought was interesting. So especially if you get delayed at all heading out there. You spend a lot of time on the horse and maybe don't have quite enough time to enjoy the experience. That is really well crafted, by the way, to get out there and sit and eat your barbecue. They're grilling all the meat. Like you trot in on your horse, and before you even dismount from the horse, they ask you, how would you like your steak cooked? Which I thought was cool. Like talking about my friend Dan Gingiss, the experience maker, like what a fun touch to the experience. But what you don't realize is that when you get off that horse, you let your body relax and cool down a little bit. You sit down and eat dinner. Oh, you are nowhere near done with the horseback riding experience, my friend. So what I would recommend, if you're going to Banff, go to horseback.com or, go stop by there your first day there and sign up. You probably want to do it in advance. But there are options here on horseback.com. I think the 1 hour Bow River ride would be perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because I went through the full gamut of emotions here with this horseback riding experience. When I got on the horse initially, I was absolutely petrified. Because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how bad it was going to be. Then for the first hour or so, this was one of the coolest things I've ever done. It was glorious. It's beautiful out there. You're in a line of all these well-behaved horses, and you get to really control your own experience by, I forget the phrase now. Bumps to the belly. Bumps to the belly is the phrase. So if you want your horse to speed up a little bit or keep up with the line, bumps to the belly, right? And you can control which way your horse is walking and stuff like that. It was awesome. And then the dinner was good, but holy crap, did that ride back hurt like a mofo. So I went from petrified to coolest experience I've ever had to, oh my God, I might need to go to the hospital. So you talk about running the gamut of emotions in the course of an evening. That's where I was with this horseback riding experience. The other thing I'll mention is that we did the horseback riding experience, 6 hours after we both ran the half marathon. Don't do that. Don't do that. It was so bad on my hips. Oh my God, it was so bad on my hips. Oh my God. I'm having flashbacks now. Do it, but do the 1 hour ride. If you really like horseback riding, do 2 hours. But when you get past 2 hours, I really felt like there were strongly diminishing marginal returns on what exactly we were doing there. Oof. Okay. Thing number 6 to do while you're in Banff. Again, we were there for a few days, a lot of relaxing, a lot of walking around. We did have a rental car there. Our Airbnb was at one of the blocks, like behind Banff Avenue. So it's all walkable, but it's long walks to get to restaurants and stuff. So, you probably want a car to get into Banff, but you don't need to be driving around Banff all the time. That said, the Icefield Parkway was one full day. So we were basically outside of town that entire Saturday. Sunday was mostly the race and then this horseback riding experience. So we did a ton of things. We took a van tour to Lake Louise and Lake Moraine, which was also fun. But I did want to shout out and acknowledge number 6 on my list. If you're an Orange Theory person like me, go stop at Orange Theory Creekside. I just wanted to shout out their team there. I met the manager and one of the coaches there. I forget their names off the top of my head, so I apologize. But Orange Theory Creekside, I didn't actually take a class there. It was not honestly worth an hour while you're out there in Canada to go take an Orange Theory class, especially the day after you've run a half marathon. But stop by. Say hi, see how things are done in Canada, meet their team, maybe buy some merch. They've got some t-shirts and stuff on sale that would show that you're there at OTF. I've been to a lot of different Orange Theory studios around the US, and now first one that I went to in Canada, although I didn't actually, like I said, take a class there. But If you do have that Orange Theory membership, remember you are able to take class wherever you go. It's one of my favorite parts of being an Orange Theory member, and just really felt great vibes at Orange Theory Creekside. So if you want to get a workout in, that'd be a great place to go. And make sure you bring a second pair of shoes, especially if you're going when it's raining or snowing outside. Just a great team there. So shout out to OTF Creekside. You made the list. And finally, the last thing on my list, I promised we'd come back to the food there. Although I was a little underwhelmed with the restaurant choices that we made. Again, not at all a shade on the food culture in Banff. Seriously, like there are a ton of great restaurants there, and all the places that we went were very good to excellent. The best thing I ate in Banff was beaver tails, and I had two of them. You know, we did it for the gram, like we did it just to say that we tried it. You know, they're very sweet. Beaver tails are a Canadian tradition up there. There's a whole menu of different options of beaver tails that you can get. Let me bring up the menu here so I remember which ones I actually got up in Banff. Yeah, they're an iconic Canadian pastry made of stretched fried dough that is shaped to resemble a beaver's tail. So you go to beavertails.com. That's the brand. They are all over the place. And the pastries is sort of their signature there. Which two beaver tails did Chris Strub have? I had a hazel amour the first night, and then I had a limited time special one that had a big like peanut butter cup on it the second night. It's not listed, but you could get the same experience getting something like the triple trip, which is chocolate hazelnut spread, peanut butter, and Reese's Pieces. Guys, they were incredible. You know, it's like, I don't know, $5 for a beaver tail, $5 Canadian, which was nice. As an American, everything that you're buying there actually costs a little bit less than you think it's going to when you use your credit card up there because it's Canadian dollars, not US dollars. Beaver tails, very, very highly recommended. Very highly recommended. You even wash it down with a little Fairmont Untamed whiskey. We did stop at the Chateau Lake Louise during our van trip day, which was another highly recommended experience. You know, taking that trip, van trip, Lake Louise, Lake Moraine. Yeah, it was. I don't want to name the wrong brand because they were really terrific. Okay, I'm glad I looked it up. The brand that the trip that we took was with Canmore Travel Corp. And our tour guide was Corey. He was awesome. He was really great. So there's only a few employees that do these tours. If you're calling to make a tour, see if you can request Corey because he was really, really cool. Down to earth. He was helpful. Knew all the ins and outs of the places that we were going, and you know, they have umbrellas that you can take with you that you probably will need because the weather is different every 100 meters that you walk through Canada. I swear to God, you'll be walking and it'll be bright, sunny, and warm out, and then 100 meters later, it'll be snowing on you, and you're like, what is happening? So Canmore Travel Corporation, there's a lot of different van tours that'll take you around Banff. Highly recommend doing something like that, but honestly, the best thing you can do in Banff is go get a beaver tail. It is, geez, it was so good. And something that I felt like I needed to do more than once before we got out of there. So just a couple more quick bonus travel tips. If you're heading to Banff, bring a ton of layers, bring lots of different types of clothing, you know, from a bathing suit, especially if you have a hot tub or something where you're staying. Obviously, you're going to want a bathing suit, shorts, all the way up to long pants and sweatshirts, hoodies, toque, right? Like bring clothes that you can layer and take off and put back on as needed because the weather, like I said, is so crazy in terms of how moody it feels. Right? 1 minute it's snowing and 1 minute it's sunny and windy and like it's all over the place. right? So make sure you dress in layers, and be prepared. Maybe bring melatonin also, especially if you're traveling in the summer. What you don't necessarily realize going in, and I didn't realize this until the first night that we were there, is that in the middle of the summer, when we were up there, like beginning of June, because you're so far north, sunset is a lot later than it is down here in South Carolina. So it was like 9 o'clock, 9:30, pushing 10 o'clock, and it was still daylight out. So it messes with your head a little bit, kind of the same way it does when you're up in Anchorage. I hadn't taken into consideration when we got up there, but make sure you pace yourself, because you will run out of energy when your body tells you that it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, but it's still bright and sunny out. It feels like you just want to stay out and keep doing stuff, go have another drink, whatever. You got to be really careful with how you're managing your time and energy and your sleep, or you're going to run out of gas quickly. So had an amazing time in Banff, running the race, eating all around town, had some great wine, brought home some great whiskey too. So we'll save this for a special occasion. I would pop it open here, but it's the middle of the afternoon and I've got more podcasts and more work to do today. But yeah, this is from Chateau Lake Louise, which is one of the stops on that tour that you go take with Canmore Travel Corp. Totally worth it. Put it on your bucket list. Go to Banff. I used my cliche, stupid phrase. Tell them Chris Strub sent you. They're going to be like, who the hell is Chris Strub? And then you can get them to subscribe to the podcast and leave a comment, leave a like. Yeah. Love being able to get out, travel, have these experiences. To me, this is what life is all about. And hopefully this episode helps guide your experience as you, one, decide if you want to go there or somewhere else, and two, decide what you actually want to do while you're there, because there's a million options. I don't think we executed it perfectly on our first trip out there. We did a lot of things right. We would do a lot of things differently if we went back out there again. But Tony, it was great to spend that few days with you, and just always forever grateful to the best real estate agent in the upstate South Carolina region, and the best Orange Theory coach I've ever had, Tony Leopard. Really grateful to be able to run that race with you and get out there and spend some time with you out in Canada. So C4 cheers. I actually got Tony to try her first C4 out in Canada, which is cool too. Man, I tell you what, I don't know that I would have made it through that Lake Louise day without drinking a C4 that morning. Was lucky to find C4 in one of the convenience stores out there. So shout out to C4 for being available in Canada. Of course, not a sponsor, but should be. As you know, this C4 really powers my way through all of these podcasts, and grateful for their future, hopefully, support. Mango Fuego flavor, by the way. It is fantastic. So with that, thanks for listening to Chris Strub Unmuted. Support the show by clicking like and subscribe. Keep up with me on social media at Chris Strub. And always remember, we are all famous to a few people. Cheers.